Hi, my name is Ray Anderson, and I am sometimes called the founder of H-B Woodlawn or Woodlawn. And I'm going to tell you two quick little stories. The first one is about how Woodlawn got invented in my head. Okay? I was teaching at Wakefield. I'd been there 2 years. I decided this conventional school is not the thing for me. So actually I applied I'm a good test taker, and I took the LSAT, and I got a good score, so I applied to local law schools. Before I heard anything, though, in December of 1970, my wife and I, and my wife has a PhD in education, she's the thinker, we're driving our VW camper, going back in time, 66, from Pittsburgh to Cleveland. And on the way, we'd been talking about education. I said, well, Sarah, write this down. And I dictated a 5-page memo about what was wrong with conventional schools for 2 or so pages. And then I said, now here's what I suggest. And this was based on the fact that I had been supervising the varsity club at Wakefield and the student government, kind of teacher sponsor. And things were incredibly tense at Wakefield and all public schools in the 70-71 school year. So I said, we just need to take some of these kids away from the conventional school. And we have to let them run their own school, be responsible for themselves. Therefore, we have to create a structure in which they will do that. And I went on for 2 or 3 pages about no principal, no rules, no nothing, And I passed it around Arlington for 2 or 3 months to like the associate superintendent, a wonderful guy named Hal Wilson, first principal at Wakefield back in the 50s. And I got some responses. And it was interesting, and people, what an interesting thought piece, So the school board was having a hearing in the middle of March of 71 that they were opening the Glebe Elementary and closing Woodlawn, Lee, and Langston, because back then we had these tiny little elementaries, and they kept closing them and consolidating into bigger buildings, like Maury and Cherrydale and etc. So I presented my proposal. I didn't even go there. The head of the teachers union presented it because the teachers union was opposed to giving these buildings back to the school board, the county board. And so they attached mine as an example of the school system could use one of these buildings, and here's a purpose. The next night I get a call from a guy named Jeff Callan, the junior at Washington Lee. He says, we've had this group that's really been looking into education, and we really like your idea. Would you come talk to us about it? I said, well, the board would never approve it. And so he said, please, would you come? So I went over to his house on Military Road. The next day, there were about 12 people there, mostly Wakefield, Washington Lee, and Yorktown people. And they had been doing all kinds of stuff in the way of thinking about innovation. For instance, there was something called the Youth Commission, which had gone to the county board and said, don't give the school board any more money. Back then, the county board did the budget for the school board before the elected school board. And they told the county board, don't give them any more money. They're doing a really bad job with what you give them. This is high school kids. Gives you an idea of what was going on. So I met with them. We talked about my proposal. 2 weeks later, we went back to the school board. Now, I had styled my memo to the school board as Ray Anderson, Wakefield chair of the committee for the new school, of which there was only one member, me. Well, now we go back. Jeff now is styled as chair, and there are like 30 people, and they're all tied into the power structure. And we present it to the school board on April 1st, kind of refined, some new things. They approved it on May 27th. We opened in September. So sometimes they say there's a time at which the fate has arrived for that idea. The first day of Woodlawn, we started with a town meeting, of course, which is a H-B Woodlawn tradition. And the superintendent and the senior staff walked in and stood at the door of our little multi-purpose room as we were having our town meeting. And they watched for about 15 minutes. They walked through the building, out the other end, never came back. And it was wonderful because somebody way back then said, who knows what's going to happen with this thing? We're not going to call it an accredited school. We'll call it a program. Genius. The state now doesn't know about it. There are no accreditation rules. The kids get a diploma from an accredited home high school, and it's still that way today.